Welcome everybody to number 53. We are starting the first night of our three-part series with supporting children's health with adaptogens. And I am Valerie Bledsoe, Master Herbalist, and I really get excited to empower people through education so they can take charge of their health. And for those of you that know me well, know that children during, of course, women during pregnancy, so the starting of the child's life, and then children as they're growing up and what we're responsible for them. That is something that is near and dear to my heart and very important because we have that opportunity to impact the entirety of their life, um, from how we address their health in so many different ways. And I hope that you'll walk away with a couple extra nuggets to be able to pass on and impact your family's health as well. So let's jump in here and let's hear what Mignon has to say.
Hi, everybody. I come to you today talking about our children, or at this point in my life, grandchildren, what Vital is for their general health. And, even when we try to do all the best things, they don't get everything they need. And rather than turning to a gummy, which is bad for their teeth, and we don't know what's in it, Vital is an excellent source of nutrients, both vitamins and minerals, as well as the adaptogens. So they get the vital nutrition, so to speak, or definitely to say, that they need, and they get these adaptogens which help with our body's response to stress. And you might say, oh, they're kids. They don't get stress. They do. I have one. She's 23 now. And now when I look back and know so much of what I know now, she was exhibiting signs of stress at a very young age. And we just didn't recognize it as that. So we live in a digital world. It moves very fast. We need to support our mind and our body. And starting that at a young age is really great because the earlier I have found with my grandchildren that we started on Vital, the more consistent and the more they love it. They ask for it. They call it their green juice or their monster juice or whatever, and they just really thrive with it. It builds immunity. How exciting is that? We need that every day, not just when there's some catastrophe going on. We need it all the time because we don't know what we're out there with. It is detoxifying. It cleans our blood. We walk out and we're exposed to toxicities in our air, in our water, in our environment in general, and then in the stress load that we come in contact with. So start young. Give these kids, these children, the nutrients and everything they need and grow them stronger and able to cope and understand stress, and it makes them just a healthier individual. So thank you, Valerie. Bye.
So I agree wholeheartedly with Mignon is saying, start them young. Let's give them that head start. Let's give them that opportunity. I was very thankful with all the changes and the exposure to herbs and plant medicine when my mother changed how we took care of our health when I was about 14 years old. And it definitely has impacted myself, my children, and now my grandchildren. So remember, this is a big pay it forward as we get to impact the future generations as well. So there's a couple things that we need to be aware of, as I think, to help understand the importance of utilizing these plants in our children's diet. And first of all, there's a lot of challenges when it comes to the standard American diet, which is also referred to as the SAD diet. And it is pretty it brings a lot of issues to the table a lot of the time for people if they're not aware of things. Let's start with this. Number one, there's a lot of artificial ingredients. And if you cannot read a label and recognize what is in what you're getting, is probably manufactured, those parts are probably manufactured in a lab. And that our bodies were not designed to be able to break that down and utilize it and get the full benefits of it. And a lot of those artificial ingredients also have um, flavor enhancers that cause people to engorge themselves and overeat. It's going to cause the kids to go for it and only want those types of foods. It impacts the brain. There's something called an excitotoxin, like MSG is one of those, and it will just overexcite the brain, gets it so wound up and everything that literally it kills off those brain cells. So avoiding things like that is makes a big impact in our diet every day and in our children's. Also, calorie dense foods are different than having a nutrient dense food. And these foods that a lot of our is in the standard American diet are definitely calorie dense, but that does not always compute to nutrient dense. Nutrition is going to help to grow the body and improve and support the health. Therefore, those become empty calories. And then the body, because we're more stagnant, and then these are high in sugar, we just don't utilize everything that's in there. The high in sugar, there's studies that show I believe it was the American Grocers Association, found out that the more sugar that was put in the foods, the higher the sales because of the addiction that would come as a result of that. So then our taste buds were driving more of what we were eating, and we weren't necessarily eating because we were hungry or eating for a desire to satiate a feeling or get a sugar high or something like that. Also, the standard American diet tends to be very low in fiber. And the amount of bowel issues that I've seen with as a practitioner has blown my mind. And the amount of children with impacted bowels, when they're eating the standard American diet, they just don't get the fiber. Therefore, the bowel does not have the fiber to push against to propel things through. Also, we're dealing with something called trans fats. Those are not healthy fats whatsoever. The body grabs them because it says, oh, fat, we need it. We need to feed our brain, take care of the hormones, feed our skin, so many different things. But then it gets it and it goes, well, this isn't really fat. This is like in disguise. They can't use it. And it's so, it got faked out, but it's waiting for the good fat to show up. We have something called xenoestrogens that are in a lot of our food, and that's impacted because of the plastics or hormones that were fed to the animals when they were in production, and that ends up impacting the hormones of our children as well. And like I referenced earlier, people are often not eating for physical need. And then we have genetically modified, for a lot of our food. So it's no longer, again, what our body was designed to be able to break down. It can't recognize it. It does not have the same results in the body in the health when you get it. And it's very common for produce to be picked before it ripens. We are so blessed that we can drive about 30 minutes down the road. In fact, Troy was just there earlier, and we just get all kinds of produce straight from the farm, organic, and then it tastes so good. It's so beautiful. And it was picked when it was ripened. So it's got all the nutrients in it, the vitamins and minerals as it was designed to have. And often, the produce is grown in depleted soil. It is more and more challenging to get good, rich, organic, humus or soil to support a produce to being as loaded as you would like it to be. No matter how hard we try, we are going to have to supplement because our soil has become so depleted over the years. And right there, like I said, usually requires supplementation as a result. So when we think about what we just talked about here with nutritional deficiencies and toxic overload, when we refer to it to our disease tree here, and we see, wow, this is one of those four main impacts that, affects how our constitution utilizes and our body grows as a result. So if we've got nutrient deficiencies and then toxin overload that's coming from our standard American diet, it is no wonder that we have so many of these different health issues and symptoms that show up. It's quite common. And again, very understandable. How could it be different? So I really like this right here. And this is something that I say all the time, second only to pregnancy, you really do have a golden opportunity to nutritionally impact your child's life in a way that will determine to a large part their health for a lifetime. I am a huge, huge believer in this. Um, our children are entrusted to us. To me, this is part of the role of what comes with the role of being a good parent. So now let's look at what if we were to come in with good, strong adaptogenic formulas and support that tree and those roots. How different would our tree end up looking? Would we have these beautiful tree trunk and being able to look up and see the leaves and the strong branches? Well, yes, I think so. So one of the things we talk about and I like to use for children is the vital. And if we think about some of the benefits it brings to the table, it is very mineral dense. It is therefore it's going to support things like bone growth. It is alkalizing. It supports your kidney health, skin health, mental health. Children have issues there as well. And we'll be getting into that more in depth in part 2. Pardon me, swallowed wrong just a minute ago. Body balancing for helping with growth, and then structural support as well. And I talk about the mineral dense, and because one of the components in it, in minerals, I mean, yes, chlorophyll does come from the alfalfa in here, and then we've got alfalfa in the longevity too. And that's something that's very important that I was aware of with my brothers when they were growing up, and then my sons, and now with my grandsons. Alfalfa is really beneficial in supporting when it comes to growing pains. So being aware of that is huge. So we talk about the complete, where we're coming in supporting their digestive health. They're getting really good nutrient dense protein powder, which is going with the amino acids. And this is designed to support the digestive system. It supports the structural health, as in the skeletal health, the muscles, the brain. When you got the right amino acids, the brain fires correctly. And then again, fiber, we talked about that. Fiber becomes very important. And I think it's very important as well for plant protein, because if you think about it, the standard American diet, unfortunately, we have people that are referring to ketchup as being one of their vegetables because of the tomatoes in it, and potatoes in their French fries. So getting plants is not something that they're getting large and in abundance in their diet. Good bacteria support through the probioIQ becomes very important, which will impact their immune system, their brain health, and bowel regularity. And again, this is just kind of glossing it over. There's more things that get impacted, and there's so much, unfortunately, like due to ear infections, children, and many other reasons, but ear infections is a big one where a lot of kids end up on antibiotics at a very young in their life, and that impacts their good bacteria so that it starts hampering immune health, hampering how the brain is functioning. It starts hampering the regulation of the bowels, and we end up with stinking thinking. The cinnamate I've used a lot for children, because there are unfortunately a lot of blood sugar issues that our kids are dealing with because of what they're eating, and they may not be able to impact that in a huge way with their diet, but we can impact it with the cinnamate. It also supporting that digestive system. When our blood sugar is balanced, our brain is going to function better as well. And again, this is very nutrient dense as well with that yerba mate. I remember when one of our grandsons was pretty young, maybe, let me think, he's about to turn 13. So he was about 4 and 4 or 5. And we were on a long trip. We'd driven out to Georgia, and he had gotten real mouthy. He was in the back seat, which was not like him at all. And I was digging in my purse, hoping for some Vital, but I found the cinnamate instead, mixed it up, passed the shaker bottle to him, and he started drinking it. And he immediately just kind of settled down and got real quiet. And I whispered to Troy, I said, "Did you notice anything?" And it was like, wow. And so then I had asked him, I said, "Hey, grandma needs some of that too. Can I have that?" But what it was doing is it was balancing his blood sugar. And therefore, he was hangry. He was hungry. He wasn't, his blood sugar was out of balance. And that cinnamate did a phenomenal job. And that yerba mate, I don't hesitate at all to use this with children. And it is so loaded with nutrition. The Avant greens. again, unfortunately, our kids are, I mean, they will eat and drink all kinds of, to me, funky, weird colors of candies and slushies and all this kind of stuff. But you hand them something green, and all of a sudden they're associating that with health, which of course it is, but it's they're just they run from it. But this avant greens is a way you can put this in like their smoothie with the Soul Complete. You can put it in their Soul Vital. Kids tend to really like it like that. I've had my kids take and make popsicles with the drinks, and the kids love that. And it's really easy to put something like the avant greens in your Vital and use that as well, whether you're making a popsicle or just as a drink. And the avant greens, again, just getting extra greens, and in this case sprouted greens as well, is really important for brain health and just general all over health for the body. I referenced the longevity. We have talked in depth about how important D3 is for the body. And, even here in our little town, I used to see kids outside playing all the time, and I just don't see it like I used to. And that, makes me sad. I mean, right now they're all going to be out working harvest because harvest is getting ready to start, but we need D3 and sun exposure on a regular basis, and we're not getting it. D3 is very important for bone and teeth development and immune health, mental health, and this too is nutrient dense. And part of that being the alfalfa, the plantain that I was referencing earlier. And then the infatuate. Getting good, healthy fats is going to help your child to grow well. It's going to help that brain development, the skin health. It's going to help with blood sugar support. And when babies are born, and even when they're little, we like to see some of those fat rolls on them to be chunky. A good, healthy baby, and also one that's, if they can be breastfed, you want that fat on them, because especially around the where the growth plates are. It's very important for that bone growth and for them in life to help attain the size and height that they're supposed to, that their body was designed for. So getting this good nutrition in, to me, makes a huge difference. This is two of our daughters, and this is when the gal in the orange is our third oldest, and you can see there her son is just downing. He drinks his Vital mix with Renew. In fact, he will go snatch it from anyone that's got some because he wants some of his own. He always wants to be having that, and he's actually my birthday twin. And then the baby that she was pregnant with there is now a year and a half old, and her little girl does the same exact thing. And so my kids all started their children on Vital and Vital mixed with Renew generally. As soon as they started drinking out of, as you can see right here, even though he was breastfed, as soon as he was started taking anything other than breast milk, they started with just a small amount in their water, and she would gradually darken it over time. So, putting more and more in it. So they never knew the difference. And it is something that they absolutely love and crave. This is a great quote from Bernard Jensen that I think really underscores the importance here. It says, "It's extremely important that we see to it that not only the table is full of food, but that the food is full of nourishment. We mold ourselves to the food we put in our bodies. We are what we eat. We grow, build, and repair. We need strength and power to overcome disease and the complexities of everyday living." So think about that. I once saw a great little picture, and it had a person's body that was overweight and out of balance. And of course, this is generalized, but they had that body, and they put little pictures like of hot dogs and hamburgers and ice cream and all these other things that are the standard American diet is full of. And then we see the person who's more trim and healthier, and they have the vegetables and the fruits and the whole grains. And that's not to say that that's the only thing they eat, but it's what you do 90% of the time that makes that difference. Still enjoy those other things, but make what you're using to grow, build, and repair your body have a good source. Put good gas in your tank. And so now let's hear from Tammy Bontrager.
Hey everyone. Okay, I love how easy and simple it is to get adaptogens into our lives and our kids' and grandkids' lives daily just by taking Soul Naturals. I think that this series is going to be so beneficial, and I'm glad that Valerie's doing it just because if you can get kids started on adaptogens early, what a great thing for them, just for their health foundationally, and it's going to help them developmentally, mentally, emotionally. So I am excited to hear what all Valerie's going to be teaching. So I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and she is already taking her Soul Naturals daily. I love that my daughter gives her them just because it's just going to benefit her so much. Avery asked for her green drink, and so she has it every single day, and I think she puts Renew in there as well. But what a great thing, just that she's already getting those adaptogens, and it will be in her from the very beginning, which is awesome. Another way that she has had adaptogens is by making protein balls, and I made them for her. It's been a while back, but in fact, I think she's coming to my house on Thursday, so maybe Mimi and Avery are going to have a little baking day, and we'll make some more. But they're super easy and fun to make, and they're just packed with good things. It's got Infatuate, which is the good fats. It's going to be helpful for brain development and for skin issues. And there's cinnamate in there, which blood sugar and just immunity boosting. There's complete protein, great great health, gut health. So great nutrition packed in there. So it's very easy. It kind of tastes like banana bread, and Avery just loves them. And I think that that's a great way to get kids to have adaptogens without them knowing, and just that it's so much better for them to snack on something like that than other things that they could be eating. I think Valerie will probably post the recipe that I used, and so I would encourage you to try those just with your kids. Another great way is to put the cinnamate in like a Greek yogurt, and it's so yummy, and the kids really do like that. So I'm excited just to hear more ways that we can get adaptogens into our children and what that it really does for them, just all of the ways that it's going to benefit them and cause such a great health foundation. So thanks, Valerie, for letting me share about Avery. And then also I'm excited to hear more about what you're going to teach us in helping our children with the use of adaptogens.
And thank you, Tammy. This is outstanding. And so many kids love these Power Bowls. I've got a lot of people that maybe there's blood sugar issues running through their family. So they're utilizing this recipe right here to help challenge and help keep the children's blood sugar more balanced. And they have just a little protein ball. I have a lot of moms that'll eat this when they're pregnant to help keep their blood sugar balanced, therefore impacting the health of the baby. And what we're really getting at looking at is all this dense nutrition that Soul has in its products. The adaptogens are such an added benefit for what they do for our mental health and dealing with stress. And so this is why I want to make certain that you knew all the other power that we have in these products. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Greg Halliday to talk about the safety of adaptogens with children. And let me make him a co-host.
Oh, you don't have to, Valerie.
Oh, okay.
Thank you anyway. I mean, I do feel better. Thanks for letting me be here, and it's great to see everybody and to listen to this absolutely wonderful information everyone needs to hear. Wow, if every household could hear this, and in time, right? I just have to tell you my little story last week. Sometimes I will be honest with you, I have weeks and I think the news isn't quite so good from one of the kids. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, how many years have we been doing this? I don't feel like it's sinking in, but other weeks it does. And maybe your experience is the same. But Grace, our youngest daughter, is 14. So she'll go into, she's a sophomore next year. And she was sitting there last night drinking a hot cinnamate. And I said, I kind of looked in the glass and I could see what it was. I said, are you having a cinnamate, huh, Grace? She says, yeah. She goes, you know what, Dad? I don't drink hot chocolate anymore. And she was telling me, she goes, it tastes way too sweet to me. Cinemate's totally replaced it. So Grace used to always, she was the one we had to buy those big cans of hot chocolate because that's what she would do years ago. She was the one who would drink hot chocolate in the mornings. And just little by little, hey, try this one, and she'll put a little bit of coconut milk in it. She will make sure that we buy coconut milk, like, this much in the top is a creamer. But I do think, like, several have said it already, that even if it doesn't take fully with our kids, it's worth every bit of effort as we help them start to use them. And some will just grab them and use it a lot, like our son Ethan, because his needs and what he was going through with his Tourette's, he could feel a huge difference, and that's a daily thing. He wants to feel that way. And others who maybe didn't have as much challenge in our family, it took them longer. But to see, I've watched Grace now with several instances. She's probably a daily Cinemati now, and I'm thinking that is going to serve you well. I do think of all these experiences with children as amazing tools that they will have throughout their growing years and then their adult years. And just to maybe put it into a little bit of perspective of where we're coming from in the company, I've shared before kind of how I remember adaptogens and how they're different than other herbs, or maybe just they're more complete. There are other herbs, of course, that feed roots, right? But these adaptogens have the uniqueness to have what I always think of the 5 fingers on my hand, because it's just, I don't know, I need that to remember. They have these 5 characteristics. I mean, you'll hear them discussed different ways, but these are the 5 big ones to me and how I remember it. Number one is that they're safe for daily use. A true adaptogen cannot be an herb that someone might say, hey, just take a little bit of this, or you don't use it for longer than X, or that wouldn't be a true adaptogen. It may be a useful herb. But adaptogens are safe for daily use in whatever quantities are needed. The second characteristic is that they modulate. That is, they either stimulate or they dial back the immune system. In other words, I think I think of it as helping it in more peak performance. I love what Mignon said earlier. These are things we always need. We just need that. Our kids need that in life. And the sooner they can get that, I love that Valerie's kids are looking out the Soul Vital. Well, I can't think of a better one. Vital and Renew early on, just sipping on that. I watched on our grandson, Jude, he would grab it from Donna. Hers is Vital and Cinemate, just because that's what she drinks. She'll drink usually a couple of those a day. And he would grab her Camelback that she keeps it in and just sip on it, because he wanted to taste what grandma was drinking. And then he'd run across the floor, turn around after 5 steps and come back and ask her for the bottle again. I mean, that was the thing that he would, oh yeah, oh, I like this, that's right. And he'd get a second drink, and she'd let him drink whatever he wanted from it. Third aspect is they do provide an energy. And my favorite way to describe adaptogens, because they're metabolism normalizers, is kid energy. It's absolutely the topic of how a healthy kid can just go. But when it's time to sleep, mom puts him down, dad puts him down, grandma puts him down, grandpa puts him down. You can get him to sleep, because that's what adaptogens can give us. And then the fourth characteristic to me with adaptogens is that they are very complete herbs in that they have nutrients on either side of imbalance. So that's where they can be unique in the adaptogens, because they have their specialties, I think. There are, as you look through adaptogens, like yerba mate, Valerie mentioned, and another example in the Cinemate would be nopal cactus. There are components Dr. Mary Fernandez proved in the laboratory that lower sugar in your blood. And she also proved that nopal has other components that raise it. That's the hallmark of an adaptogen. And the body receives those, and what it lacks, what is found lacking in that afternoon, that day, that week, whatever we might be going through, body is going to uptake more of that, has been my belief and experience with those. And then the fifth point, the fifth finger on that is, I guess that's a thumb. Anyway, the thumb is that every single true adaptogen will have a pronounced impact on our emotional well-being. The adaptogens find their way quickly into studies about anxiety and depression and any kind of term. I don't often love all the labels, but any term that describes that balance, that emotional balance that our body is built to handle, and because we're built to move in and out of depending on what's going on in our life. And I look at it as adaptogens as providing that, like Valerie said, good, clean, how did you put that? Put really good gas in your tank. Adaptogens are they're ultra premium gas for emotions, is how I look at them. I just wanted to end by mentioning something. This is a tad off topic, but I promise you it is right on topic. The one of the key charities that Soul supports is Hope Squad. And Hope Squad, if you're maybe new and listening to this, was founded as a program, a very structured training program wherein children of all ages, beginning in elementary ages and through junior high and high school and into college, become the best connection and the eyes and ears for any children who are feeling disconnected, alone, depressed, discouraged, and suicidal. The person who founded Hope Squad had been a principal. The first school that they installed this program into, that involves training adults and children alike, it's very thoughtfully done, had suicides every single year for as far back as they had begun to measure as they looked back, and several years there were multiple. And it's actually a local high school to where we live. I can tell you the name of the high school. It's Timpview High. Since Hope Squad's been going now for more than a decade, I think it was the first high school where they installed their complete program. And it is now, I think we're upwards of 12 years. Not a single suicide, not a single one. Children actually run it. But they know where to connect into adults and support, and often some professional and counseling support as well. All of that's connected in. I look at the reason we gravitated to Hope Squad for children is the same reason we gravitated to adaptogens. Because the question that I ponder is, if all children have these kind of tools that Valerie's teaching from a young age, how does the picture look different for those getting to the phases in life where they're considering, such things and would begin to act in them? I believe that 80% of them never get to that phase if we can do this. And being involved in other things, we can help all of them. So to me, it is that far-reaching as well. I just believe strongly in what Valerie says, starting with pregnancy and how we nourish ourselves there. And then starting with as soon as they're done breastfeeding, your mentor can talk about quantities, how little bodies don't need as much as bigger bodies. And so your mentor can talk about that. But that is why we did adaptogens, because we wanted products, and that is our commitment going forward, products that are good for all ages, that are safe, and same thing with very advanced age. I think it's a similar principle. So Valerie, thanks for letting me just share a couple of words about this. I'm with Tammy. This series is very exciting, and it's a must see. It's a must share. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. So I've had people tell me, well, my kid won't drink or eat things like that. How I get them to eat healthy. And I thought Lydia Ferrantino had some phenomenal ideas. And I love this right here. She tells her clients to take their kids to the park, and or if it's too cold, to take them someplace where they can play hardcore with their friends and running around, get them good and sweating, and so that they're thirsty. And then when they have to have something to drink, they come over, offer them an already made up cold, icy Soul Vital. You prepare it in 14 ounces of water. She says the kids like it more on the sweet side. She says every single one of her clients have come back to tell her that it worked. And so at that point, they're already drinking it. They've okayed it. It's moving forward. And as we start to get, and as she says, teach kids to taste goodness and create a craving for it rather than masking or hiding good things, I think that's really important. And then with cinnamate, you've heard a couple people reference it, and Lydia was talking about that as well, putting it in Greek plain yogurt and using a small amount of yogurt because, again, kids liking things sweet, mixing it in a packet about 6 ounces of yogurt. And then they have it as a great treat. My grandson that we raised for a while, I would take a little bit of the plain Greek yogurt. We would mix like a cinnamate, some different frozen fruit. He put a Vital in there. We would put in Adaptable, some Probio IQ, the Soul Clear, whatever he was needing at the moment. And he would just eat it. He loved it. He would ask for it over other things. So like Lydia's saying, as we just cross that initial barrier to get the kids to try it, and especially when they're young, they end up liking it and they really do want something that's better for them. They just, it's about getting them to help them recognize it. So I look at these as important building blocks for raising healthy children. And of course, that can be a huge list. You can look at all kinds of different things that can factor into it. Well, I wanted to look at a couple basics that had to do with, just things that impact our actual health, our immunity in our body. And remember too, any little thing that you change for the better is a step in the right direction. You do not have to do all of these. Everything does make a difference, and you start where you're at and just start improving it with each opportunity you get. So clean air is very important for healthy children. Water, sunshine, we were talking about that, getting kids out and playing. Movement, clean foods as much as possible. Otherwise, things where you recognize the names of the ingredients, things you've put together at home, things you've picked or been able to get out of the garden, or at least from the produce section. Cultured foods, whether you're talking about a yogurt, kimchi, kombucha, things like that have got the good bacteria in it. Be a good role model for your children. They are watching. And that was perfect what Greg was saying. Our grandkids come and want what their grandma and grandpa are having, and they feel special because they get to drink, and they talk about wanting grandma's drink or grandpa's drink. If we're modeling this as a grandparents or as parents, often our kids, especially when they're young, want to be just like us. Avoiding chemical exposure as much as possible will impact your health. Whether we're talking about the air fresheners, have got the synthetic smells and perfumes in them, the clothes, the detergents and soaps have got all of that will impact your actual health. And then adaptogens. And we'll be getting more in depth next week about how the adaptogen components starts coming out of these formulas. But knowing that you've already got the good solid building blocks of nutrition in there, the adaptogens are the icing on the cake. So these are the different products that we're talking about. And then honestly, there's other products you can do as well. But when I was thinking what basics, any of these as an addition is a great place to start. And it's really neat because you can take and make a smoothie using the Complete, Infatuate. You can throw the Avant Greens in it. You can open up. Actually, you can put all of these into a smoothie and get it all into it for your child. You don't have to have them taking them all individually. Throw a little fresh fruit in there and you're good to go. And it really is simpler than you would think, even if you have to start with small amounts and build up. So again, start where you're at, but getting that good nutrition in is a game changer. Every child is born a naturalist. His eyes are, by nature, open to the glories of the stars, the beauty of the flowers, and the mystery of life. If you've ever had children and grown a garden, and had them help with you, or been in the kitchen cooking, my kids would always be in there helping me cook. And what I found was, if I allowed them to be a part of it, they also wanted to be a part of eating it and what they were made. They took pride in it. They are open and aware and ready. It's just, they're looking for us to take the opportunity to show them these things. So take advantage. You have a phenomenal position in life as a parent or grandparent, aunt, uncle, a role model in whatever way you can to, again, to impact future generations. So next week we will be part 2 in the series, and we will be focusing on mental health with children, and then focus. So like kids that are working with, whether we're talking about ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, different types of things. So we'll be doing all those components next week. And I really hope that you will take the opportunity to join us next week.